This week, the Honolulu City Council approved a bill allowing the city to confiscate personal property left on public sidewalks and in public parks for more than 24 hours. The council approved the measure 8-1 on Wednesday, and Councilman Romy Cachola was the lone opponent. The vote came after lengthy testimony that was overwhelmingly against the proposal. Now, one of the 8 council members voting in support is Councilmember Tulsi Gabbard, and she joins us this morning with details on why the measure garnered her support. Good morning, Councilwoman.
Good morning, ma'am.
Thanks for joining us at this early hour. So this was a marathon hearing for you folks, 4 hours. A lot of homeless advocates, homeless came out, all against the measure. But what's the real story? Because I know there's more testimony in terms of email and phone calls. What was the difference in terms of that?
Well, really, first of all, this bill, Bill 54, is absolutely about making sure that our public spaces, our sidewalks, our thoroughfares, and our parks are safe and open for everyone to use. And we heard so much testimony, not only on the day itself, but also through emails, through phone calls from people who wanted to be there, who supported the measure, because they want to make sure that their kids can go and play in the park safely. They want to make sure that our kupuna can walk down the street safely without having to dodge cars or step out into the street. And so that's really what it's about. And it's, you know, it's unfortunate that it's been misperceived that this is targeting the homeless, because it's not. It really just addresses a problem where you or I or a business owner could go out and put a trailer on the sidewalk and cover it with a tarp and leave our personal belongings there on a public space. And that's not right for anyone. These spaces are open for all to use.
But clearly, doesn't it look like this bill wouldn't even be here in the first place if these homeless encampments weren't popping up, including the Occupy Wall Street encampment right there at Thomas Square?
This bill was first introduced long before the Occupy movement began, and it was introduced because we on the City Council from all the neighborhoods on the island were getting calls and concerns from people who either had obstructions or had people who were storing their personal property in public spaces. And so that's what this bill is really about, is to try to make sure that we address the concerns of the entire community and to keep the space open for all to use.
Was this one of those silent majority kinds of issues when, you know, people are more likely to give you a phone call or an email because they don't have to go to a public hearing?
Well, it's tough. It's tough because we had the hearing that day lasted actually 11 hours. And so people are at work. People are trying to put food on the table for their families and aren't able to come down and sit out through the whole hearing. So we heard a lot of support from people through all different avenues. And that was what really, I think, pushed it over the top.
Let's talk about your race for Congress. And, you know, there's a stalemate in Washington right now between the Republicans and the Democrats over the extending the payroll tax cut. What's your thoughts on that, and how will lawmakers push that through?
I think this discussion is very, very important and actually relevant to what we're talking about, because we're talking about a little bit the challenge of homelessness. And why is that really there? It's because our economy is struggling. It's because our families are having such a hard time keeping their jobs or finding good jobs. And if this payroll tax cut is not extended, working class families will see at least a $1,000 increase in their taxes starting next year. So this is something that will cause a huge burden on our families, must be taken care of before the end of the year.
All right. And well, we're keeping an eye on that, the stalemate in Washington. We're also keeping an eye on this sidewalk bill. We're hearing that Honolulu Mayor Peter Carlisle is going to support it. Tulsi Gabbard, thank you so much for joining us at this early morning hour. You too. And don't forget, if you'd like to watch this interview again, you can head over to the morning section of our website, kitv.com/thismorning. It is 6:09.